recently in Dubai, a place that many Ghanaians feel is almost like the utopia for city living and aspirational living, saw a 67-story building engulfed in flames, 4,000 people evacuated, and thankfully not a soul lost. When I saw this was just a few days ago, I thought to myself, with the fire safety challenges that are happening across different cities, especially in the UK, could this actually happen in Ghana? Now, as you know, we like to explore details around your investment journey when it comes to Ghana and in Africa at large. And with the sheer rate of high-rise buildings emerging across the city, I was wondering if the cladding scandal that has happened in the UK could potentially be a risk happening in Accra. And then what is it that the Ghanaian system has in play to kind of mitigate against that kind of risk? In the UK, there was a massive high-rise building boom around the 2010s to 2015s. Due to the sheer demand required across the board, you would see entire towns change into high-rise mini-cities, as it were. And in June 2017, the Grenfell Tower in London caught fire. Huge tragedy, 72 people lost their lives, and it's never really been forgotten. The cause of that was the flammable cladding and cheap materials wrapped around the building that let the flames spread almost like it was ignited by fuel. Now, the UK government responded immediately, banning similar cladding types and spent billions on remediation. And even to this day, kind of 8 years later, all that remediation is not fully complete. I fall into one of those people where the remediation is not complete. For those of us who own flats and buildings like it, the pain didn't stop there. I owned a flat in a building that was flagged for unsafe cladding, and I'm not the only one. I have a few friends that have had the same, and there's individuals that have even taken shared ownership schemes on these kind of buildings. As soon as we were marked with unsafe cladding, there were a number of immediate impacts to me and others like me that were felt immediately. All of a sudden, some people's service charges went through the roof because from a safety regulation perspective, you actually had to have somebody on site at all time. I think it was called a night watch or something like that. And that came at the cost of the leaseholders in the building. And overnight, you could have seen your service charge go from maybe just over £100 a month to £400, £500, £600, £700, £800 a month, as insurance premiums went through the roof. I had it myself, so my service charge went from around £100 a month to close to £300 a month for an entire year. It was a killer, and it was unexpected. Another key aspect is people were unable to get mortgages on these properties. So as you know, in the UK and in the West in general, credit is a huge enabler for real estate across the board. And when people were unable to get mortgages against these properties, it drove the market down. So at one stage, the one-bedroom apartment I had in a northern city had reached almost double its value. And then after the cladding scandal, it came straight back down to what I paid for it. And even then, you could only sell it to a cash buyer, which reduced your pool immediately. A lot of people in the block try to sell, and they can't. So you're stuck with an apartment that's not fire safe. It's not deemed safe for someone to take a mortgage out on it. It changed how building construction happened completely. It changed buyers' tastes and sentiments completely. People were now looking for older buildings or proof of the fire safety and those kind of things. Complete shift. And to this day, I still haven't got a resolution on this problem. So fast forwarding to June 2025, a fire breaks out in the Marina Pinnacle Tower in Dubai, in one of the most regulated building markets in the world. And yet the fire spread up the building's exterior. Residents had to use elevators because smoke flooded the stairwells, and it took 6 hours to control. 4,000 people evacuated. Accident maybe, but pattern definitely. Fires following the lines of cladding and buildings built for beauty failing on safety. So what does this mean for Ghana? Are our high-rise buildings safe? As we know already, Ghana is going vertical. From Airport City to East Legon or North Legon, you will see high-rises springing up everywhere. If they're not already there, there's a hole in the ground ready for a new one to come up. And it's good for the city skyline. It represents urbanization, density of population, modern living, and urban growth. but we do need to discuss or explore, especially when investing, how safe they are from fire risk. Now, Ghana has a national building code. It was introduced in 2018, and part 10 of that code actually details fire safety components, right? So it looks at things like sprinklers, stairwells, alarms, and materials. But there are a few issues with this code. There's no direct equivalent to the UK standard, which is called the BS 8414, the fire test for cladding systems required in the UK. And even more worrying, like with many aspects of codes, conducts, and legislation in Ghana, there's no consistent enforcement, no independent oversight of those material use, and no national cladding register like you do have in the UK. There have also been a number of studies into residential fire safety in Ghana. This analysis was done by the Department of Construction Technology and Management. I'll link this one in below. And we have an issue with fires anyway. We've seen what happened at Cantonmantle. The fire safety there was really poor. Even with them completely rebuilding it, which was a massively spirited effort, you still wonder about the fire safety of that same area. So it's something to really consider. So with all of this in mind, there's a few key questions that you need to ask when exploring investing in high-rise or medium-rise apartments in Accra. Here's some critical questions you must ask. 1. What cladding materials are used? Are they fire rated? Can the developer prove it? 2, is there a suppression system, i.e. sprinklers? Sprinklers should be a standard as part of your high-rise building. Some developers may skip it. Do not accept that. 3, are the stairwells pressurized and smoke-proof? Ask how the building protects its escape routes in case of fire. 4, are the elevators fire-rated? Many fires trap people in lifts. Dubai example showed how dangerous that is. And finally, has a third party run a fire safety audit? Self-certification is not enough. So you need to get, 1, these questions answered, but 2, your team in place to be able to provide some independent advice around the fire safety of these buildings. Even as a landlord or a tenant, these questions could actually save lives and save your investment. Imagine slamming $150,000, $200,000 without any mortgage-backed kind of credit, and your entire investment figuratively and literally going up in smoke, like it's happened in the UK, like it happened to me. If it's identified that these buildings or a building is not safe, the cost of remediation will land on the leaseholders. That could triple your monthly service charge, which effectively makes you a renter in the building. I've seen firsthand the risks around fire safety, and it can make your home unsellable. It can turn $200,000 into a complete liability and not an asset at all. We don't need to wait for an emergency or tragedy to happen in Accra. Just be diligent and demand higher standards. And let's ask the harder questions. If this video helps you think differently about the real estate risk in Ghana, share it, like, comment, and subscribe. If you've seen anything worrying, I'd love to hear from you guys. Kuro is available to help you make more informed decisions around real estate and real estate pricing, and we're here to support. Till next time, stay safe and stay informed.